All right, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about cleaning the cartridge connectors and the cartridge pins of your game cartridges and cartridge-based consoles. We're going to focus on the Neo Geo AES today, but this also can apply for any other cartridge-based console out there as well. Even the Atari 2600, at least with the cartridges here, but not really so much with the cartridge slot. It's a little bit of a different situation with the 2600's cartridge slot and even the 7800's cartridge slot. But I will show how to get these things going here. And yeah, first of all, for those of you out there, you may have a cartridge-based console or a arcade board, like a JAMMA board or anything like that, that may have some oxidation on the pins. And that happens over time from, people blowing on the pins to try to clean them, or, just exposure to the elements over time. So that happens too. The reason why it's called oxygen. But yeah. So those of you out there that are console gamers or arcade gamers, or even for those out there that are arcade owners and, they need to do maintenance on their arcade games and all that stuff. Yeah, this video is for you. So, but first things first, we're not going to focus on the consoles just yet, as far as like the cartridge pins are concerned. Yeah, there are connector pins in these things, and we're going to show about cleaning those. But what we're going to do first is we're going to focus on the cartridges first. So let's set this aside for right now, and we'll come back to it later. But what we're going to look into mainly is with this kind of cartridge itself. Now, this one's different. Neo Geo stuff, it has two sets of pins, one for audio, one for video. So we're going to look at the connectors on it, but I do want to focus, first of all, talk a little bit about this stuff. What you're going to need to get these cartridges apart, as you can see, I've already taken this one apart here, is you're going to need... For this cartridge, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. Now, this also falls for MVS cartridges. Now, if you're using actual AES cartridges that are not like this one, you have to use a spudger to get them, pried apart. But not too difficult, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. But yeah, thankfully with this one, it's just held in with 4 Phillips screws, and you can take it apart. But as far as other cartridges are concerned, you can also use this for cleaning Game Boy cartridges. As you can see right there, you're going to need a smaller security bit for that, and then Sega Genesis stuff, which coincidentally this is a console port of a pre-Neo Geo game, Street Smart, and it uses a bigger security bit. But yeah, and then of course, and coincidentally, this is another pre-Neo Geo game by SNK. It's Vanguard. What you gotta do with this is that these things have these things are like spring-loaded protectors, and what you gotta do is that you gotta slide like a tiny precision flathead screwdriver into each of these slots, and then you just push back and it'll open up for your pins. So that's one way of getting these Atari cartridges. But like I said, with Atari consoles and with Game Boy consoles and even Sega Game Gear consoles, Neo Geo Pocket Color consoles, cleaning the pins on the cartridge ports, that's a little bit of a different matter, and you may need to look up another video for that, because this is going to be with just traditional cartridge pins on these consoles. So yeah, but that is a way that you can clean these cartridges up. And I got clean these two up at some point in time. Vanguard's already clean, so yeah. But we'll set this back over to here, and it's just a side note to know about these things and all that stuff. The other thing you need to know about this is that when you're working on one of these cartridges, or even on the cartridge slot pins, you need to take your time. If you don't take your time, like I did the last night when I tried to record this, you could end up breaking something. So you need to be careful. Don't get too frantic with anything. You do want to clean vigorously with some of the stuff, but you don't want to put too much pressure on anything. So yeah, just be very careful and take your time throughout. So yeah, here are the materials that you are going to need for this. You need right here 100% pure cotton swabs. Make sure it's 100% pure cotton. If it's anything else, it can be pretty abrasive to your cartridge connector pins, so you don't want that. You can find this at the pharmacy department of places like Walmart or Food City or Piggly Wiggly. Any grocery store has them, or any other place. It's usually in the pharmacy or the health care and beauty section. So yeah, pick these up and make sure it's 100% pure cotton swabs. The other thing you're going to need is you're going to need a clean and dry washcloth, and make sure that you've had fabric softener on these washcloths, because you don't want any kind of static. The other thing you also need is you need a can of compressed air. This is CRC Duster. You can find this at in the electronics section of Walmart, or you can find it at the electrical department in Lowe's, Home Hardware. So that you also need 91% isopropyl alcohol. This is for the just basic cleans, and make sure it's 91%. You don't want anything lower than that. You don't want too much water and moisture. And this is, of course, Top Care brand. You can get this at Food City, which is, again, it's like the East Coast Piggly Wiggly. So, yeah. And then, of course, you want glass cleaner, preferably something like Windex. Now, I know it says ammonia D on it, but it's not going to be corrosive for the pens or anything like that. And it's mainly used for shine. And that is for the basic clean. What you're going to need for the advanced clean is you're going to need some of this. CRC QD contact cleaner. Make sure it says quick drying formula and it leaves no residue, or it's plastic safe. You can find this in the electrical department at Lowe's, but make sure that it says QD contact cleaner, because there's other stuff like contact degreaser and all that stuff. You really don't want that. You want contact cleaner, QD contact cleaner. So make sure that it has, make sure it says that, and make sure it has the hose attached to it. I've seen some of these sometimes with without the hose attached to it. And now for the last resort clean, which is what we're going to be using actually for the cartridge port in this video, is I'm going to use some Deoxit D5. Now, you can also use Deoxit D100, but that's overkill. You really don't want to use Deoxit D5. Another thing you can also use for like a heavy clean is denatured alcohol, but again, that's overkill too, so you don't have to really use it. But yeah, Deoxit D5, really handy to have. And when you have Deoxit D5, make sure that you have the nozzle set to low, and there's a good reason for that. We're going to get into it here in a sec. But anyway, we're going to get started here. And another thing you're also going to need is also for the cartridge pen cleaning, the cartridge slot cleaning, you're going to need a Zeiss microfiber cloth, and you're also going to need something like an old ID card, an old driver's license, or an old work badge. You could also use an old bank card with printed numbers on it. Make sure they are printed numbers and that they're not stamped numbers. If they are stamped numbers, they're raised up and they can mangle the pins on your cartridge ports, and you'd have a much bigger mess to deal with at that point, and they'd have to be realigned or they have to be replaced, and that's a lot of work to do, and you have to salvage it from another console probably that's not working anymore. But yeah, let's focus on the cartridge first. So like I said, after you get this disassembled with a Phillips head screwdriver, and the Phillips head screwdriver that I get it from on this set is the Hyper-Tough 77-piece electronic repair kit. I do have some additional things in there, but really, the core stuff, it really helps, especially if you've got like Game Boy Advance stuff. It's got like tri-wing screwdrivers for the cartridges on it, so if you need to clean them, you can do that too. But yeah, I found this at Walmart like 6 years ago. I don't know if they still have it, but you can probably find it on Amazon. The Deoxit you have to find on Amazon anyway. So, you know, just look around, you'll find them. Not that hard to do, but you know, after you take the screws out on the cartridge itself, and just bear with me because I gotta take my time on this. You want to make sure that the cartridge is flipped over. Now, the reason why you want to flip it over is because you've got two covers here, one for the SD card slot and then the other for, well, nothing. And they have a tendency to fall out of the case. And if they do, it's a little bit of a pain to get back in. So, yeah. But the other thing too, keynote, you want to wash your hands first. Make sure that your hands are cleaned and cleaned with soap and warm water and dried thoroughly before you get into this. You don't want fingerprints on your pens. So, you know, they have to do that over again. But, yeah. Anyway, let's pry this thing open. As you can see here. And I know I'm all over the place in this video, but this is the second attempt on doing this. So, after you get it open, and I'm going to, you know, set it like here. And already, like I said, one of these things, it pops out easily, and they're hard to get back in. But we'll work on that here in a little bit. But yeah, you've got the cartridge board here. Now, there are separate things. There are things that are separating this cartridge board. And as the other thing would go, we're all to a good start. These separate the boards. You have to keep the boards separated. And these are even on AES cards. So make sure that you get your spacers, just put them in the cartridge shell themselves. And if these things do pop out, put them in there too. So I'm not going to worry about reassembling this thing in the video, but just if you need help reassembling them, maybe I can make a separate video on that, but it's really not a big deal. Just, you know, just guide everything through the slots and you'll be fine. But yeah. Anyway, what you got right here is you've got a board. And now, unlike the AES cartridges here, when it comes down to something like this, they are held together with Molex connectors. These are old school connectors that, you know, that were used on a lot of older computers and stuff like that. They've been around since the 70s, but you can pull these boards apart, yes. You just got to be very careful with it. And you can keep your SD card in the slot. It's not a problem. But like I said, the boards themselves, you want to separate them. And the way to do that is very simple. So let me go ahead and set the camera. And I know I'm going to be setting it like this just for y'all to see, but just bear with me here. So what you want to do is you want to slowly work that one up. And then on the other side, you want to work that up. And then you've got it. So really, when it comes down to it, you know, when working on these things, like I said, you want to take your time on them. You don't want to put too much pressure on it, especially when you got the board like this when you're cleaning. Otherwise, you could bend those Molex connectors, and they're not hard to bend. They are very easy to bend, and if you bend them out of shape, it could throw the whole thing in a whack. So just be careful with that. And then also, there's another thing to be precautious about with the board on this. So as you can see right here, this is the lower board. And what I'm going to talk about here is this. When you're starting to work on this board here, if you put too much pressure on this side right here, you could crack and break the flange on that inductor right there. Now, it'll still work, but you know, if you don't take your time like I did, it'll break, and it's not hard to break. So just be very careful about that. And just know that the flange and that inductor is there. The flange is really to help hold the inductor coil in place, so it's not going to change the inductance on it. So it's a trivial matter if a piece like, you know, this big breaks off, but you don't want the whole thing to break, and you really want to take your time with this stuff. Like I said, I tried filming this last night. And ultimately, it didn't work out well for me because I was I was in a frantic rush. I was very tired, and I was doing the video at the wrong time. So that's another thing too, is that you don't want to end up working on electronics at the wrong time, especially if you have other priorities like a job and stuff, and you're really stressed out over it. It's just a big, just a big no-no. Don't do it. Uh, don't do what I did, and you'll be fine. But anyway, so next thing to do is what you're going to need for a basic clean is you're going to first use the 91% isopropyl alcohol, and you're going to need some cotton swabs right here, and then you're also going to need your dry washcloth, and then you're going to need for this later on the glass cleaner. But we're going to start with the isopropyl alcohol first, and I'm going to show you how to get this cleaned up. So bear with me here, and we'll get started with this. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video, mainly due to the fact that everybody is wanting to know how to get these things cleaned to a T. And you really want these things cleaned to a T, especially a flash cartridge like this, because they use a lot more power. So you really need to have those pins cleaned to a T, and the cartridge slot cleaned to a T if you really want this thing to work. So yeah. Anyway, let me go ahead and set the camera alongside like this. I know I know it's not the best thing in the world, but you know, my the guerrilla film editing, you know, it's just the charm to my videos. So you know, deal with it. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and unscrew this. And what you want to do is you want to take this and, you know, make sure you get a little bit on there. If you need to take some of the excess moisture out, you know, rub this thing around the bottleneck and it'll be fine. Same thing with the Windex or glass cleaner. And then what you want to do, and I'm going to set this up like this. And what you want to do is you want to start with, and these pins, they're somewhat dirty, but they're not too dirty. But what you want to do is start rubbing along the pins. And really, you want to scrub vigorously, but again, you don't want to scrub too hard. Otherwise, you're going to break something. The worst thing you could break on something like this is a capacitor, and an electrolyte capacitor or one of the solid capacitors, because it's not hard to break those either, and you really want to be careful. So that having been said, that's how you clean one side of the board. And as you can see right here, this one's it's fairly clean. I was cleaning it the other night, but you know, like I said, I had that problem. I broke the flange on the inductor, and had to stop filming because I didn't know if I caused a major problem or not. I'm still fairly new to some of the encyclopedias of electronic parts. I mean, I do know some things about electronic parts. It's just that, you know, when it comes down to, let's see right here, get that out of the way. When it comes down to something like this, you know, I didn't know if I broke a vital part or not, but thankfully I didn't. But yeah, you want to keep going on this side here with the rubbing alcohol, and just keep going at it. You know, going back and forth on this. And as you can see right here, there's more to it. So yeah, set that alongside, and then what you want to do next is you know, take your washcloth, dry washcloth, and dry the pins on that side. Next, you want to flip it over, and then you want to take more of this stuff, the rubbing alcohol, and you want to start cleaning the pins that way. Just keep going and all that stuff. Now, like I said, things to keep in mind is you know, it's not hard to break the inductor plastic cap on the inductor, the flange, and it's not hard to break a capacitor either. And that falls for any kind of cartridge that has those things. You really want to be careful about it. And then, of course, with the other cartridge board, those Molex pins, you want to be very careful about that, and you don't want them to bend. So, so we're gonna keep going here. Keep scrub. You want to scrub vigorously, but you don't want to be, you know, too hard on these things. Like again, you don't want to put too much pressure on these boards, or any cartridge board for that matter. I mean, it is silicone and it will break. So yeah, but as you can see right there, there's that. Next, want to scrub a little bit on, you know, dry this, wipe it dry. Okay, so. That is, that's part one of the basic cleaning of one of these things. The part two, electric boogaloo on this, is that you want to, so I can get this, you know, and I'm just going to work on this one board for this video. The other board I'll probably do after the video, so yeah. What you want to do is now take your glass cleaner, get the cap off, and, you know, make sure, now with this stuff, there's a lot more water in them, and you don't want too much moisture in it. I'm sure, you know, other reviewers out there, like Angry Video Game Nerd, they talked about cleaning these things with glass cleaner, and while that is a solution for it, you really want to clean it with the isopropyl alcohol first. Make sure also that it's isopropyl alcohol and that's not rubbing alcohol. Rubbing alcohol has glycerine in it, and that can get really messy on your pens. You don't want that stuff on there because it'll cause more oxidation than anything else. But yeah, you want glass cleaner for the second part of the basic clean. And what you want to do is, you know, put this in here like so. Make sure you don't have too much moisture on this. If you do, it could get all over the board and stuff, and you definitely don't want it around, especially the capacitors. So, and again, just like what I was doing with the isopropyl alcohol, same rule applies. You just want to scrub vigorously back and forth, up and down, from left to right, on these pens. You know, really, it just comes down to that, and then you want to go with the second thing here. Again, not too much moisture. You don't want too much moisture on this thing because of the capacitors, and you know, you don't want that. Now, while this one has mostly, you know, solid surface mounted capacitors on them, I'm still very cautious about them because capacitors are very sensitive. So, yeah. Next, you want to take your, again, your washcloth, your dry washcloth, and wipe it clean. So, and then we'll go to the other side here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take, again, another cotton swab, Windex, or glass cleaner, and you know, keep going at it. You really want to make sure that these things are clean to a T. So, and like I said, we're going to use different methods of going about with this. So, like I said, this is the basic clean. This is what you want when it comes down to. You know, if you just need to do minor maintenance on this, if there's not too much oxidation and stuff. But yeah, what happens over time is that, you know, a lot of people back in the day, they had a tendency to blow on these cartridges because they thought that, you know, it was a way of getting them clean and getting them scrubbed up and stuff. What happens over time is that that saliva from you blowing on them, from people blowing on them, what happens is that it gets on the pens. And it oxidizes them, and the bacteria, it's got contaminants in it, so it oxidizes on that too, it congeals on it. And it just, you know, it oxidizes over time. And in worst case scenario, the salt from your saliva can also corrode the pens. So, and that's worst case scenario. So, yeah, you just don't want to blow on the pens. It's a cardinal sin in retro gaming anyway. So just don't do it. Okay, so next, what you want to do after you've wiped it with a washcloth, you want to take your CRC duster, or you know, Surf-On, or any kind of you know, compressed air, and you really want to blow on these pens. Alternatively, you can also use, and there you go. You got a dry cartridge slot. You got a dry cartridge connector, but alternatively, you can also use an air bulb, and that'll work too if you're afraid of the moisture. But there's not much moisture that comes from the compressed air. So, but yeah, once you get this done and you got both boards cleaned, just put it back together, stick it in your console, turn on, and see if it works. And it should work. If it does work, cool. If it doesn't work, then we'll go on to the advanced clean. So, and that's what we're going to do right now. So next, as I set the can of compressed air on the floor right now because there's some moisture on it. What we're going to do is we're going to start using our, as soon as I get this put back together. Yeah, you really want to make sure that any kind of cleaners you got, make sure the the caps are on them right after you've used them. Make sure the lid's on them. That way they don't get mixed up. But yeah, next is the CRC QD contact cleaner, and that's what you're going to be using for the advanced clean. Pop the cap off. Make sure you've got your hose. And you want to make sure on this thing that the hose is attached to this thing. If you don't, it's going to go all over the place. So another thing to note about this contact cleaner and even the Dioxit 5 is this. They're extremely flammable. You do not want these things near a heat source. And you want ventilation as well because the fumes are toxic. And the other thing too is that you don't want anything that's turned on that's, got a fan or a ventilation system going as far as like electronics are concerned, because, the fumes can get into it and not be pretty. But yeah. But anyway, we're gonna get started on this, and what you want to do is you want to take this stuff and very gently. I'm going to get my camera again. Very gently, as we're in the 26-minute mark on this, you want to go ahead, take this stuff, and you want to gently spray along there. This is not the best example, but you don't want too much moisture on this thing. But what you want to do then is that, again, just like with before, you want to scrub, fairly vigorously up and down, 1, 2, 1, 2. So yeah, move the camera back over here and let me finish up what I'm doing here. But yeah. So yeah, this is the advanced cleaning, and it's a little, again, you want to make sure that you don't have anything like a heat source nearby or anything like that, or even a fan turned on for this thing. So yeah, once you get that done with that one Q-tip, go on the other side with the other Q-tip or cotton swab and start scrubbing vigorously on this. Again, not putting too much pressure on that board. You don't want too much pressure on the board. And then take your dry washcloth and go and wipe those pins up. Okay, so yeah, and that's what you want to do. So flip it over, and we'll go ahead and we're going to go with another one of these. Get another cotton swab out, and you really need just one cotton swab per side. You don't need two. Okay. Again, not the best example because I'm not good at gauging how well to push that thing on to get it to not squirt out a whole bunch. But yeah, just be sure to wipe up the excess after you're done, and you really want to make sure of that. Yeah. Okay, and then next up is the scrubbing these pins down. Okay, so that being done, it is time to wipe it up with a dry washcloth. Take a dry washcloth and make sure it's dried up, and make sure you use a dry side washcloth, otherwise your end result will be grief. So yeah, yeah, like I said, I made a mistake the other night by putting too much pressure on this, and it did break the a piece of the flange off of the inductor. But I did talk to my uncle, who's an expert in electronics, and has helped me with replacing a lot of batteries and a lot of game cartridges, and even modified my Neo Geo CD when I had it to running in English. And he said that really it shouldn't be a problem. But yeah, as you can see, there are the pins. Now, one thing to note about this, you do not want to stick this in your console right off the bat. You want to wait about 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then put it in, and then turn it on and see if it runs. Because if you don't, it's going to bring a whole new meaning to Fall Out Boy's Light 'Em Up. So yeah, you just don't want to do that. But yeah, that is the advanced clean. And if it works, cool. If it doesn't, then use the last resort clean. And that's when this bad stuff comes in. Deoxit D5. Again, with the Deoxit D5, you could use Deoxit D100, but again, it's kind of overkill if you use that. So yeah, and I know this video is already in 30 minutes, so I just hope my phone can hold it. So, because I don't have that much storage on my phone left. But yeah, so let's see if we can get this back up and running here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So what you want with the Deoxit D5 is you want to pop this off, and as you can see right here, there are settings on this cap. You want to make sure that the nozzle is pointed towards the L. The main reason for this is because otherwise it's going to go all over the place. I'm not going to really show the camera of how the deoxit looks when you spray this on here, because it's similar to how the contact cleaner goes. But again, you want to make sure that you don't spray too much excessive. So yeah, the Deoxit D5, like I said, it also is flammable. So same rules apply for that, just like with the contact cleaner. But anyway, you want to get your straw out, your hose. Make sure it's clipped on there good, and then you make sure that nozzle is aligned in the L. And then next up, you're going to need another cotton swab, a couple more cotton swabs, and then you just go with it and just be very gentle with this. And this stuff, it's still going all over the place, even in the L position. So, yeah, the Deoxit D5 is the last resort cleaning. And what you want to do with this is you want to make sure that you scrub vigorously, but you don't scrub too hard on this. Like I said, you don't want to put too much pressure in it breaking something. So, yeah, and then go over to the other side. Start scrubbing a little more. And what the cool thing with the Deoxit does is that it actually not only cleans your pins, but it also works into them and over time, and it also protects them. So that is a good reason to have the Deoxit D5. So yeah, and then next you want to take your wash rag, your washcloth, clean the remaining off, and make sure that you don't have any more on there. So, like I said, this is a last resort cleaning in case if it's just not working for you. So, I know a lot of people are getting graphical glitching errors on the main menu of this flash cart, and it's a real pain. But this is really the only way to do this, is to use the contact cleaner. Again, not too much. You don't want too much moisture. Not that there's much moisture to this stuff. And then keep scrubbing. Keep scrubbing vigorously. Like so. So, again, like I said, this stuff's also safe on plastic. You don't have to worry about it melting your plastic. And it should be okay around like your other like semiconductors and stuff like that. So you shouldn't be too much of a problem. Just make sure that you dry this again for about 15, 20, 30 minutes before popping it in. Otherwise, it's going to be Disco Inferno. So, dry this up. Dry this up real good. And yeah, this is it. This is what a cleaned cartridge board is going to look like for you once you are done with it. As soon as I get this stuff cleaned up here, cleaned up. And another thing also, I don't know if I used it with the contact cleaner or not, but also you want to use your can of compressed air with this each and every time that you're using this stuff. So yeah, still got some on the board here. Gotta try to get that off. So yeah. And again, you know, just like with working your way up and down on this, that's what you want to do with this kind of stuff. So yeah. All right, so that is the last resort clean. This is what you want for last resort clean. Stick it in your console and it should work. And it should work flawlessly with something like this. If it does not work at all, then you may have a GPU problem, or it could be your cartridge, your cartridge port. We're going to get to the cartridge port right here, right now. So that is done. I'll worry about the other board after the video. So after the video viewing, but yeah, that's what you do. For the cartridge port, we're going to set this down right here. And what you got right here is, for this particular console, Neo Geos are unique. They've got 2 sets of these pins. So, you know, you got double the work on this thing, but nevertheless, you will be fine with it, okay? First things first, when you disconnect this thing from power, and this thing really needs to be disconnected from power, you need to flip it on. Flip it on, leave it there for about 20 seconds, and then flip it off. This one's already been discharged, so it's fine. One other thing, too, is that you want to use, like I said, a flat card when you're using this. Use something like an old ID card, an old work badge, an old driver's license, or an old bank card with printed numbers, not stamped numbers. The difference is that printed numbers are flat. Stamped numbers, they're raised up. And if stamped numbers, you can really mangle the pins. Alternatively, you can also, for those of you that know JAMMA Nation X, aka Supreme Judge, he also... he has used an NES eliminator with the cartridge slot, with the cartridge shell removed. So, and then he sprayed the Deoxit 5 on it, and then put it to paces with the cartridge pins. So, and that works too. But yeah, you really want one of those 2. And then for this, since I've cleaned this so many times that I can't see straight, I'm using the Deoxit D5. And you really want to use the Deoxit D5 if it's not really working well for you, and all that stuff. So this is what you got to do for this. And this is, you know, what you got to do is, I've got this thing already wrapped up. What you want is that you want it wrapped up to a point, and this is an old microfiber cloth. You can also use a white t-shirt, but you make sure it's 100% cotton. One of the things with this is that, you know, you want it wrapped up to a certain thickness, like, for example, about this much. Too much thickness, you could bend the pins, and it's not hard to bend the pins. And if you bend the pins out of alignment, you got even bigger problems. So, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and, you know, like I said, just be careful about all of this. And, you know, what you want to do is you want to take this and spray the edges down with the Deoxit. Okay, that's one side. Now the other side. Okay. Now with our stuff, we can now start going into these pins right here. And as you can see right here, this is not hard to, it's not easy to shoot, but you want to push down in there with the card and the microfiber cloth. And you want to go up and down, up and down. And you really want to take your time with this. Up, down, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. You really want to do this going up and down and then left to right. And I'm just going to set the camera right here. I don't know if anybody can see this very well, but this is what you do. You got to go up and down on this thing, you know, making sure that, you know, you get into the pins. And again, just like with the cartridge, you want to wait for 23 minutes until this thing is dry, and then you try it out. Otherwise, again, it ends the world. So, yeah. So, yeah, going up and down, and then, you know, all the way across. And then you've finally got one set of pins cleaned. And, yeah, so got a little bit of stuff there, not a whole lot, but we're gonna try with the next bit. I got a lot of deoxin on the desk here, so yeah. And again, the Deoxit D5, it really helps, especially for last resort cleanings. Now, you can also use the CRC contact cleaner first, and I suggest you try that first before going into using Deoxit D5. So, going in, and then out, up, down, 1, 2, 1, 2. And again, you want to take your time with this. The key to this is taking your time. You really want to take your time with this and make sure that you get these pins to a T. It's not the easiest thing in the world because of the tension of the pins and being very tight to get the card in there. But you know, it really does help. So yeah. And I did get a little bit more out of that. But, yeah, that is pretty much it. Like I said, wait 20, 30 minutes and then fire it up and then see if it works. But, yeah, that's pretty much it for that. And, yeah, granted, there are other problems that can happen. Like I said, if the pins are cleaned and the cartridge connectors are cleaned to a T, especially when you use the last resort cleanings on these, and they still do not work, then you could have a problem with your graphics processing unit or GPU. And in that case, it's going to require you to find a replacement. Maybe salvage one from an older board. So, yeah. But that's it. And like I said, this not only applies for this kind of console, it can apply for Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, NES, Nintendo 64, you know, ColecoVision, Intellivision. Atari 2600 stuff is a little bit different in terms of the cartridge slot pins, but and so is the 7800. And to an extent, the 5200, if anybody has a 5200. But the thing is that, you know, a lot of problems can be solved by doing this. And that's really all it comes down to. And another thing I would also do is that right after you get the deoxit in there and stuff, I would use some compressed air and blow thoroughly into these pins before, you know, letting it sit for about 30 minutes and then firing it up. So, yeah. Yeah, but that's about it for me for right now. And I really do hope that this cartridge right up here at the inductor is not damaged to the point where it won't fire up. But hopefully it won't be that case and everything like that. Been wanting to make this for a few days now. It's just I've been busy with work and been busy with other projects and trying to get things situated and settled in with the apartment itself. I just got back from my parents' house from the summer, helping them out and working the second job over there. It's about a 2-hour, 25-minute drive. And yeah, I've got some of these board games out. I'm a gamer through and through. So yeah, I've got some stuff I've still yet to open. But yeah. But that's about it. So anyway, like I said, this should fix your problems. If it doesn't, then, you know, try some other things. like the, replacing the GPU if you've got soldering skills, and salvaging it from another board. But yeah. Another thing too would be to replace the cartridge slot if the pins are, just so out of whack. That's another thing too. But yeah. But anyway, that's pretty much it from me, and hope y'all enjoyed the video. This has been Good Day Jay, and I'll see y'all on the flip side. Take care, peace, and I love y'all. Bye.